All right. So for math today, we are going to review more about rounding numbers. We are on page 28 in your practice and problem solving book. And I need a reader to read this top part and this big portion. Noah, nice and loud.
Read the problem below and explore how to use a number line to solve a problem that involves rounding. Last year, Tango's Toys spent $117,290 developing a new video game. This year, the company spent $175,000 on the game. Round the amount spent to the nearest 10,000, then find out how much more Tango's Toys spent on the game this year than last year.
Okay. So far we've only been practicing rounding just to round. Now we are going to practice rounding to make math problems easier. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
All right. So on the Model It, they are going back to the number lines. I know that none of us enjoy the number lines for rounding, but let's just think it through. So we found the closest 10,000s on both sides because that is what we are rounding to, right? 10,000s. Can we tell which one it's closest to? Look where their point is. All right, someone raise your hand. Is it closer to 110,000 or 120,000? Hayden?
120,000.
Okay, so we know that number rounds to here. I gotta scroll down. All right, now here's the other number. What do you notice about the other number? Where does it land? Because this is our tricky situation. Josiah?
In the middle.
In the middle. If something's right in the middle with the 5, what does the 5 always tell you to do? Cadence?
Go up.
Go up. Okay? We know that. We've been practicing a lot. Actually, I gotta scroll down again. This page is a lot of words. All right, so can someone read the directions next to connect it? All right. Zoe, nice and loud.
Now you will solve the problem from the previous page.
Okay. So we saw it on the number lines. Now we're going to do it the way we know how to do it. Okay, number 2. Why do you round 117,290 up to 120,000? Before we even write our answers, we need to show some work, right? We don't do all this in our head. So we need to write our number down. Anywhere you've got space, you can squeeze it in. 117,290. Make sure you're writing with me. And we were rounding that to which place? Noah?
10,000.
10,000s. So which place do I underline? Cadence?
The 1.
The 1 in the 10,000s place. I circle my neighbor. Now the numbers before the place I'm looking at, I can copy down. So do that first. And then we have to stop. What does the 7 tell us to do with our 1? Angie?
Go up.
Go up.
It becomes a 2.
Good. It becomes a 2. And then everything else becomes what digit? Noah?
0.
Zeros. And if you want to make sure you did it right, you can count your place values. If I had 6 place values here, I should still have 6. So why did we round up? Well, basically, the 7 in the thousands place told us that the 1 in the 10,000s place had to become a 2. Use your words if you'd like, or you can borrow some of mine. And people at home, I hope you can see better. I got a new camera. It looks a little better to me. All right, so that took care of the first number. Our second number was 175,000. We maybe can think about this without writing our work. Why does this 5 make us round the 7 up to an 8? Noah?
That makes because of 5, the people chose to round up instead of round down.
Right, we talked about mathematicians a long time ago said, well, when we round numbers, 5 is right in the middle. We just have to pick. Does it go up or down? And everyone said it goes up. So that's what we do. So we round it up because the 5 in the thousands place tells us to round up. They didn't give you much space to write. Just do your best to squeeze it in there. All right, so if we actually think about the problem, it told us the numbers, asked us to round them, and then it asked us to add them together.
Oh, I do that.
Why do you think it's easier to add numbers once they're rounded than when they're not rounded? Why does it make adding easier? Hayden?
Because you just have to underline and then circle the thing next on the right to it.
Okay, well that's the rounding part. But let's think about what our numbers look like. Here are the two numbers. We have 120,000 from the first number. The second number is 180,000. Is that a little easier to add than numbers that have all sorts of digits all the way down to the ones place?
Yeah.
Yeah, way easier. So you might have some word problems that say, here are your numbers. You round them first. This is important. Last year, many of my students would add the numbers as they were, and then they would round their answer. Well, that made your work way too hard. Okay? Round first, and then add up your easy rounded numbers. Okay? So after you round both amounts, which we did, here are our rounded amounts. How do you estimate how much more Tanaka's toys spent on the game this year than last year? Oh, it's not an addition problem. We need to read the problem again. Which operation do we need? Josiah?
Subtraction.
Subtraction. So make sure you get your bigger number on the top, smaller number on the bottom. That's how subtraction has to work. We had a few issues with that this week. Just remember, if I have 10 pieces of candy, if I have 10 pieces of candy, I can't take out 15. That doesn't work, right? Can't do that. All right. Hopefully you wrote that down. Hopefully you started working on the problem. All those zeros sure are easy. 8 minus 2 is 6, and that's it.
60,000.
All right, so why is it easier sometimes to round your numbers before you do the math problem? What do you think, Josiah?
Because then you could just add or subtract them.
Yeah, is it easier to work with all the zeros like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that is why this skill is important. So how much more? We need to write our answer here. And we have a label. We're talking about money, so 60,000 more. Oh, you know what? We wrote that on the answer line. That's all right. We'll just draw an arrow. It's okay. All right, number 6 is kind of fun. You get to choose any 5-digit number. You get to pick. I'm going to write one up here, so if you're not feeling that you can pick your own number, you can borrow mine. But I would pick your own. Choose any 5-digit number, write it here, okay? Go ahead and do that.
A 5-digit?
Yep. I just picked random digits. There's 5 of them. It's a 5-digit number. Okay, now our directions say, explain how to round a 5-digit number to the nearest 10,000. We know how to do this. We are experts. The hardest part is just explaining. Okay, let's do it first and think about our steps as we do them. Okay, what do we do first? If I'm going to round this to the nearest 10,000, what's my first step? Cadence?
Underline the 1,000, 10,000.
Underline my 10,000s place. And then what do I need to circle? Cadence?
The thousands.
Okay. Now let's pause right there and write what we just did. Was that our first step of how we solved the problem? Are we awake? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, that's our first step. So, explain how to round. First, we underline the 8 in the 10,000s place. Make sense so far?
Yep.
Okay, we just read a sentence explaining what we did first. And then we look at the thousands place. And I'll pause there. That's as far as we've gotten on our solving. Yes.
You said we could write any.
So you might have to change the numbers. If you don't have an 8 here, you'll have to change your number to whatever you chose. All right, when we look at the thousands place, what does it tell us to do? In my example, your example might be different. What does my 5 tell us I have to do with my 8? Cadence?
We have to either go up or stay down.
Yep, go up. 5 tells us up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the 5 tells me, if you picked a different number, you have to change your numbers. The 5 tells me to round the 8 to a 9. And then if you want, you can write your answer down here at the bottom. So for my number, it's 90,000. So if you picked a different number, make sure you've explained how to round your number to the nearest 10,000. All right, I'm going to start erasing the top. We've got a couple problems at the very bottom. I will leave that there for a minute. Okay. Are we ready? Okay. Right, last 2 problems. Great job so far. Try it. Someone want to read me the try it? Hayden.
Use what you just learned to solve these problems. Show your work on the separate sheet of paper.
All right, if you need a separate sheet of paper, you may, or you can use your whiteboards. So if you would rather use your whiteboards, which I always like, go ahead, grab that out. Even those of you at home, you've got whiteboards you can use. Okay, so I'll wait 10 seconds. If you want a whiteboard, get it out now. If not, you can show your work on your paper wherever there's space. All right, and I need a reader for number 7. And this guy's name is Mr. Ruiz. Right, Josiah?
Mr. Ruiz's classmate wants to collect 2,000 water bottles to recycle. So far, they have collected 1,376 water bottles. Round each amount to the nearest 100. Then find about how many bottles the class needs to collect.
Okay. So you know, word problems can get tricky. What's the first thing I tell you to do on a word problem? Hayden?
Write down your numbers and underline them.
Yes, we need to find our important information. So what do you think is important out of this problem? Cadence?
2,000.
Okay. They want to collect 2,000 water bottles. What else is important to underline in our problem? Josiah?
The nearest 100.
Okay, we know we're rounding to the nearest 100. I would circle that.
Yeah.
That's very important. There's another number that's important we shouldn't lose track of. What's our other number? Madeline?
1,376.
Okay. So this is what they want to recycle. This is what they've got so far. Before we solve the problem, which our question is, find about how many more bottles they need, we have to round our numbers, right? I'm going to put my question in a box still, so I don't forget about my question. Because this is going to be a two-stepper. You got to do 2 steps. First step, we need to round our numbers to the nearest 100. So I'm going to write both my numbers down over here. We have 2,000 and we have 1,376. If we're rounding to the nearest 100, which place should we underline? Noah? The hundreds, okay? So here's my hundreds in this number. Here's my hundreds in this number. Circle the digit next to each one. And 2,000, what's going to happen here? Cadence? Huh? Never mind. Chloe?
That's a 10.
Yeah, this is already rounded, right? The 0 says keep it the same, so we just write 2,000. What about the other number? What does the 7 tell us to do with our 3? Angie?
Round the 3 up and the 3 becomes a 4.
Right, so we can copy our 1, the 3 becomes a 4, everything else is zeros. Okay, so now our numbers are rounded, correct?
Yep.
Okay, first step done. Second step, then find about how many more bottles, how many more is a key for addition or subtraction? Chloe?
Subtraction?
Subtraction. How many more is subtraction? So which number goes on top, 2,000 or 1,400? We've been struggling with this. Hayden?
2,000,
Why?
because 1 is less than 2.
Good. 2,000 is a bigger number. So 2,000, now line up your place values, minus 1,400. I'm going to let you get a head start solving that problem. Everyone should be working either on your whiteboard or in your book. Solve that problem. If you're not done, don't look. When you're done, check my work. Make sure I didn't make a mistake. You know how I can be. If your answer matches mine, you can give me a thumbs up whenever you're done. All right, I've got a couple, so that means my answer's probably right. So if yours matches mine, you're on the right track. Does anyone have a question about how we got that answer? Ooh.
I don't really think that there's any question because it's really easy.
I'm happy to hear it. Okay, my one thing, now I wrote all over my answer blank. But what label should I put on that number? Because when you have a word problem, usually you can put a label. So I always reread my question, and then I can think of my label. Josiah?
Bottles.
Bottles. 600 bottles, or you could even say 600 more bottles. They still need 600 bottles to reach their goal. Is that an exact answer, or is it an estimate since we rounded our numbers? What do you think? Josiah?
Estimate.
It's an estimate. If I wanted to know exactly how many bottles, I would have to subtract this number from 2,000. So this is an estimate, but this is about what we need. All right. We have one more problem, okay? I'm going to do one of them with you, and then I'm going to have you work on the rest on your own. So we have the number 649,418, and we are going to round that same number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times. Is it important that you check which place you're rounding to each line?
Yes.
Yeah. So here's what I do. If you're using your whiteboard, you can just write it, and then each time you erase it and rewrite it. 649,418.
Come on.
Okay, we're going to do this one first. To the nearest 10. So which digit should I underline if I'm rounding to my nearest 10? Madeline?
The 1.
The 1. Good. And then I circle the neighbor. Now, can I copy all this front stuff down?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So let's go ahead and do that first. That part won't change. All right, but now we have to stop. What is the 8 telling us to do with the 1? Noah?
Round up.
Round up. So my 1 becomes a 2, and then everything after that becomes zeros. All right, we rounded it to the nearest 10. Go ahead, write it on your line. All right, I don't even think you need me to do any more examples with you. I think you've got it, okay? So you might want to, this is what I would recommend, underline the places you're rounding to so you don't forget. Make certain that you are following the directions. Any questions before I let you work? All right, great job. Those of you at home, continue to work through just like us. I don't need to see this lesson, but I hope it will help you on your other work. I'll see you later.